Open your new eyes and silently ask yourself, who is my teacher? As the teacher makes an appearance, everything and everyone you encounter today will become a reflection of that presence. As you align your life with purpose and gain the ability to make miracles manifest, you will start to recognize the teacher. This recognition comes when you feel open enough to experience your own purpose for being here and have allowed yourself to receive divine assistance by being a willing student. You will then be ready to believe in your own capacity to become your very own miracle worker. When I talk about the world of real magic and miracles, I'm not referring to turning rocks into gold, raising the dead, or commanding the seas to part. I am discussing anything you have considered beyond your ability to create for yourself due to limitations you believe you have. I want you to cultivate the foundation for creating real magic in any area you desire. To begin, you must examine your life focus and beliefs before attempting any real magic strategies. I have identified 7 beliefs that can help you tap into the power of real magic. There is an invisible but knowable life force within you. Try cultivating an awareness of this invisible life force that permeates all forms in the universe, including your own physical body. This universal intelligence directs a rose to be a rose, the planets to align and move through space, and you to be you. It is what allows you to perceive and experience your physical body and the physical world in which you find yourself temporarily housed. Your thoughts are something you control, and they originate with you. Thought is our way of processing and recording our human experience. Your thoughts create your experience of health, wealth, and every detail of your world. As a step toward the awakened life of real magic, you must consider how your thoughts have contributed to a non-miraculous, limiting approach to life. Recognize that you can also produce the opposite effect. There are no limits. All of the things you have become convinced are limits are products of the way you have learned to think. You may have been taught that logic and scientific verification dictate what is possible and what is not. However, those who believe only what they can see or prove scientifically are limited by the current level of sophistication of our measuring devices. Be a person who accepts no limits in your mind, none. Your life has a purpose. The entire universe is an intelligent system. The invisible part of you, your thoughts and feelings, is also a part of this intelligent system. Know that you have a purpose, and you will be on your way to creating miracles in any and all areas of your choosing. You overcome weaknesses by leaving them behind. You cannot outthink your weaknesses and limitations. What you can do is leave that stage of your life behind and walk through the gate into a new way of being. Leave behind the belief that you cannot change, and you will also leave behind the physical activity that has supported that belief. Picture it behind you, look back at it, and know that you no longer live that way. Accept this as truth, and you will soon see yourself creating real magic in your life. Examine what you believe to be impossible and then change that belief. Take an inventory of what you believe cannot happen in your life. At the very minimum, rid yourself of these limiting beliefs. If anyone on the planet has overcome a terminal diagnosis, then such a capacity exists within all of us. This universal law that created miracles has not been repealed and never will be. Work on that thought right now in this moment, which is the only physical reality you have. Go beyond logic. Try to embrace the idea that there is another dimension that is very much a part of you. This dimension has nothing to do with logic or scientific validation. You have never seen, touched, smelled, or physically felt a thought, a dream, or a feeling. Yet you know they exist. The same is true for a portion of your humanity that I call your soul. There are some who will never believe it unless they see it. Others will see it because they believe it. Few of us have had training or upbringing on how to tap into the power of our minds to enter the world of real magic. And to do so, you will need to learn how to go beyond your rational mind and enter the dimension of spirituality. In order to participate in the high drama of miracle making and real magic, you must believe in your spiritual self. This belief has absolutely nothing to do with your religious affiliation. Once you experience this invisible dimension and understand the higher place you can reach within your mind, you will shift from being an exclusively physical person, a human being having a spiritual experience, to a spiritual being having a human experience. You have the capacity to create miracles and live a life of real magic by using your invisible self to influence your physical reality. When you truly become a spiritual being first and a physical being second, and know how to live and breathe in this new alignment, you will become your own miracle worker. Oh, when you examine the lives of the most influential people who have ever walked among us, you discover a common thread. They have all been aligned primarily with their spiritual nature and secondarily with their physical selves. Without exception, all of our greatest teachers have been spiritual beings. They didn't limit themselves to the five senses. All of the great teachers and doctrines, including Christianity, Buddhism, Judaism, Islam, Sufism, and Confucianism, have left us with a similar message. They urge us to go within, discover our invisible higher self, and know God as the love within us. Becoming a spiritual being is synonymous with being a miracle worker and experiencing the bliss of real magic. The differences between non-spiritual or physical-only beings and those I call spiritual beings are dramatic. I use the terms spiritual and non-spiritual in the sense that a spiritual being has a conscious awareness of both the physical and the invisible dimension. In contrast, the non-spiritual being is only aware of the physical domain. Here are 12 beliefs and practices for you to cultivate as you develop your abilities to manifest miracles in your life. A spiritual being knows that there are other senses beyond the five physical senses. The non-spiritual being lives exclusively within the five senses, believing that if you cannot see, touch, smell, hear, or taste it, then it simply doesn't exist. As you work toward becoming a spiritual being as well as a physical being, you begin to live more consciously within the invisible realm. Thus, a whole new world opens up. The non-spiritual being believes we are alone in the universe. The spiritual being knows that he or she is never alone. A spiritual being is comfortable with the idea of having teachers, observers, and divine guidance available at any time. For the non-spiritual being, this is all considered nonsense. To them, the universe is purely physical, and the goal is to manipulate and control it. Spiritual beings, however, know they are not alone and can use their own divine guidance to become miracle makers in their lives. Man, the non-spiritual being, is focused on external power. The spiritual being is focused on personal empowerment. External power is about dominance and control over the physical world, including the power of war, military might, laws, organizations, business, and stock market games. In contrast, the spiritual being is focused on empowering oneself and others to higher levels of consciousness and achievement. True empowerment is knowing that you can live in the world with others who have different viewpoints and have no need to control or vanquish them. The non-spiritual being feels separate and distinct from all others, viewing himself as a being unto himself. The spiritual being, on the other hand, knows that he is connected to all others and lives his life as if each person he meets shares in the human experience. When a person feels separate from others, he becomes more self-centered and less concerned about the problems of others. A spiritual being knows that we are all connected and is able to see the fullness of God in each person with whom he makes contact in his life. Being connected means that the need for conflict and calm patience is eliminated. The non-spiritual being believes exclusively in a cause and effect interpretation of life. The spiritual being knows that there is a higher power working in the universe beyond mere cause and effect. The non-spiritual being lives exclusively in the physical world where cause and effect rule. The spiritual being goes beyond Newton's physics and lives in an entirely different realm. Yet the spiritual being knows that thoughts come out of nothingness, and in our dream state, when we are in pure thought, cause, and effect, play no role whatsoever. The non-spiritual being is motivated in life by achievement, performance, and acquisitions. The spiritual being is motivated by ethics, serenity, and quality of life. For the non-spiritual being, the focus is on learning for high grades, getting ahead, and acquiring possessions. For the spiritual being, success is defined by aligning oneself with one's purpose. The spiritual being knows that living purposefully involves serving in a loving fashion. While the spiritual being will achieve and perform at high levels and even acquire many possessions, it is not the end-all principle that guides his life. And the non-spiritual being has no place for the practice of meditation. The spiritual being cannot imagine life without it. For the non-spiritual being, answers are sought by working hard, struggling, persevering, setting goals, and competing in a dog-eat-dog world. The spiritual being knows the enormous power of meditation. He knows that meditation makes him more alert and able to think more clearly. For the non-spiritual being, this is perceived as an escape from reality, but for the spiritual being, it is an introduction to a whole new reality. This new reality includes an opening in your life that will lead you to miracle making. For the non-spiritual being, the concept of intuition can be reduced to a bunch of haphazard thoughts. For the spiritual being, intuition is viewed as guidance, and this inner insight is never taken lightly or ignored. From your own experience, you know that when you ignore your intuitive insights, you end up being sorry or having a hard lesson show up in your life. To the non-spiritual person, intuition is often ignored or shunned in favor of habitual behavior. The spiritual being strives to increase consciousness concerning their intuition. They pay attention to their invisible messages and know deep within that there is something working here that is much more than a coincidence. The non-spiritual being hates the evil and is determined to eradicate what he believes to be evil. The spiritual being knows that everything he hates and fights weakens him, and all that he is for empowers him. The non-spiritual being focuses his energy, both mental and physical, on fighting what he perceives to be bad or evil. Spiritual beings do not order their lives to be against anything. They work for what they are for, rather than fighting what they are against. When you fight evil by employing methods of hatred and violence, you become a part of the hatred and violence of evil itself. Despite the rightness of your position in your own mind, real magic occurs in your life when you have eliminated the hatred in your life, even the hatred you have against hatred. The non-spiritual person feels no sense of responsibility to the universe.